The Tale of Aria and the Storm of Nemesis, a tale of pride and quest for power. In the heart of the sprawling savannas of Africa lay the kingdom of Zanzara, renowned for its vibrant culture, stunning landscapes, and traditional arts that dotted the golden landscape. Among its people was a young girl named Aria, who was gifted with extraordinary powers over the weather. From birth, a prophecy had foretold her as a child of immense potential, destined to command the elements themselves. The baby grew to a beautiful girl, and at a very young age she could command the weather. She could command rain, storm, lightning, or even thunder. She was really gifted. Aria also had a sister named Dia. Aria's parents adopted Dia, an orphaned girl, when her own family had perished. Although Dia was humble and kind, she lived in the shadow of Aria's remarkable abilities. Her adoptive parents loved her dearly, but their favor often fell upon Aria, whose powers began to corrupt her character. As Aria kept growing, her powers kept growing as well, making her very powerful. At 16, Aria started to display her gifts at the Festival of Zanzara, a vibrant celebration of harvest and community. The festival was a time of joy, music, and dancing, but Aria's performance soon took a darker turn. Aria became full of pride and arrogance that her father had to caution her, but she refused to take heed. She grew from that innocent girl to a pompous and arrogant lady, while Dia continued to remain a beautiful, humble, and kind-hearted lady. Shortly, Aria's parents died, leaving Aria and Dia, her adoptive sister. Aria's initial display of her powers, summoning gentle rains and crafting beautiful breezes, was met with admiration. Severally, during extreme dryness and drought, when crops were dying due to lack of rain and the villagers were finding it hard to survive, the king, with the support of the chiefs and the entire village, would summon Aria to help the villagers by using her powers to summon the rain and help them summon favorable climatic conditions. However, Aria started making demands. As her performance continued and her powers grew, Aria's demands grew more audacious. She began to request precious items from the king, including valuable artifacts and gifts meant for the village chiefs. The king, fearful of her wrath and afraid of the potential consequences of not listening to her, complied with her demands, handing over the treasures with reluctance. Emboldened by the way she could intimidate the king and the king's fear, Aria's demands became more extravagant. She demanded to be given a position of power, and the king, unable to refuse her, granted her the title of a chief. Aria's newfound authority allowed her to further assert her dominance, and she abused the privileges and respect she received. As Aria grew into a beautiful lady, her powers also grew, and so did her thirst for recognition and control. She began to see herself as more than a mere villager. She believed she was destined for royalty, so she would dress herself in beautiful attires like a member of the royal family. Though loved by her people at first, her increasingly selfish acts began to sow seeds of unease among them. Yet, she convinced herself that her abilities set her apart and she deserved special treatment. Her sense of entitlement grew, fueled by the attention she commanded from all, including the king. No one can blame the king for being scared of Aria. Who wouldn't be scared of such a powerful person? One day, it was the time of the festival of Zanzibar, a festival that was done for 7 days, where the villagers would dance, sing, display their skills and prowess. Farmers would showcase the big and bountiful crops they harvested. Fishermen will also compete and showcase their fishing prowess, making the fisherman who caught the biggest fish the winner of the competition. It was a competition that all villagers loved to participate in, both old and young, and even people from neighboring villages would also come to join the festivity. Meanwhile, Aria refused to join the festival, thinking she was so special and shouldn't mix with the crowd. So she decided to go on the last day to display her power. A handsome young prince from a neighboring kingdom attended the festival as a guest of honor. His name was Amari, and he was known for his wisdom, kindness, and extreme wealth. Aria heard that the prince of the neighboring kingdom was around and attended the festival. Aria was excited and doubted if it was true, so she went to the festival to confirm and found out that it was true. Then she decided to display her power in the festival. She also changed her mind and decided to attend the complete 7 days of the festival, just to entice the prince. She also decided to wear purple throughout the days of the festival, believing that purple was a color of royalty, as she already saw herself as a member of the royal family. While she was displaying her powers, people were thrilled and astonished that such a person could have such powers. She commanded respect and honor from everyone, including villagers and strangers. The prince watched Aria's impressive performance, but soon grew weary as he sensed her hunger for praise and power. Meanwhile, he was already drawn to Dia, who he saw during the festival. Dia, who despite lacking magical abilities, displayed an inner grace that captivated him. He walked up to Dia. As Dia saw the prince, she greeted the prince respectfully with a beautiful smile, and this captivated the prince already. The following day, which was the second day of the festival, Aria attended the festival to display her power again, and the people were so impressed at her display of power. The prince became more drawn to Dia, and she greeted the prince as the prince shook her hand. Dia noticed the prince's attentiveness to her, but her humble nature made her wary of his affections. She assumed he must be charmed by Aria's dazzling power, as everyone else seemed to be. However, Amari sought Dia out in the midst of the crowd, always admiring her. Dia was a good dancer and a happy soul. She was always found in the midst of the festival, morning and night dancing. Sometimes she would go home to change her clothes and come back to the festival ground later in the day. For Amari, Dia's humility and quiet strength, coupled with her dancing skills, were more precious than any magical gift. On the third day, Aria went to the festival ground and tried to impress everyone with her powers, especially the prince. But the prince didn't seem interested in Aria, making Aria bothered and worried. But that day, the prince proposed to Dia, which Dia gladly accepted. The prince told the king, and the king was so happy. knowing Dia to be a good person. Later, word of Amari's intentions towards Dia reached Aria. Jealousy ignited within her. She saw herself destined to rule and believed that a mere ordinary girl like Dia could never measure up to a prince's standard. Fueled by resentment, Aria confronted her adopted sister. She belittled Dia, accusing her of stealing what was rightfully hers, claiming, "I'm the chosen one, the child of prophecy. A prince should be with me." Later in the evening, Aria dressed beautifully and decided to go to the festival again to showcase her power. Maybe the prince would have a change of mind and see her as the best choice for him. Although, the prince paid no attention to Aria, making her filled with rage. Soon after, news spread round that day that a valuable gem was discovered in the village. A gem of great significance. It was a big, large piece of gold. The villagers were happy, believing that the gem was a blessing to them and gave them more reasons to be happy. Hearing of the gem, Aria went to the king and demanded that it be given to her, threatening doom and destruction if her demand was not met. The king, despite his fear, refused to hand over the gem, understanding its importance to the village. On the fourth day, there was an announcement that the rich and handsome prince wanted to marry a maiden of the village, and the maiden was Dia. The people were happy, seeing this union as a means for both kingdoms to strengthen their bonds. Infuriated, feeling her power slip away and also blinded by her own ambitions, Aria decided to prove her worthiness to Amari and the entire kingdom by showcasing her ultimate power, but she did it with anger day and night. On the fifth day, she displayed her powers with anger and there was heavy downpour, making everyone to go home. People did not notice that she was displaying her power with anger. On the sixth day, she went to the festival with so much anger, displayed her powers, and the people were terrified at first. But later, they thought it was just her prowess at work until the seventh day. On the seventh day, which was the last day, she went to the festival in the morning. She summoned storm, clouds, and fierce winds, showing no restraint, wanting the people to bow to her might. But her desire to command respect twisted into a dark desire to instill fear. Suddenly, the sky darkened, and thunder echoed through the plains as Aria's storm escalated beyond her control. In her fury, she failed to notice the damage she was causing. Crops were uprooted, homes were damaged, and the very people she once protected ran in terror. Dia and everyone there tried to stop her, telling her, "Aria, this isn't you. Power isn't meant to harm. It's meant to heal. Aria, stop!" But it was too late. She couldn't stop. Aria's heart was hardened, and she ignored everyone's cry. But the more she tried to control the storm, the more it rebelled. Her powers, like a wild beast, turned against her, and she was ultimately unable to contain the chaos she had unleashed. In the midst of the chaos, as her magic spiraled out of control, the massive baobab tree, ancient, was uprooted by the ferocious winds. The huge tree, its roots torn from the earth, crashed down onto the festival grounds where Aria had been standing. The heavy branch fell upon Aria's legs, pinning her down and causing severe injury as everywhere was in chaos. The storm gradually subsided. leaving a scene of devastation. The once celebratory festival was now a disaster area, with the villagers and the king witnessing the terrible consequence of Aria's unchecked power. The aftermath, the people of Zanzara rebuilt what had been damaged, their faith in Aria shaking as she threw everyone into sadness, and her former friends and admirers no longer trusted her. Aria was left to reckon with her broken reputation and the consequences of her unchecked ambition. No longer the kingdom's favored child, she faced a path of solitude and repentance. Her chieftain title was withdrawn. No man wanted to marry her because she was now crippled and deformed. One leg was bad at first, but later both legs deteriorated and was cut off. Her beauty was not as she was before. Everyone knew about her arrogance and no one wanted to associate with her. Aria, now facing the consequences of her actions, was forced to confront the true meaning of her gifts and the responsibility they entailed. As for Dia and Prince Amari, they became symbols of unity and humility. Their love grew, rooted in mutual respect and a shared vision for a compassionate kingdom. Dia, despite her own trials and the mistreatment she had endured, continued to show kindness and resilience. She supported the kingdom through the difficult times following the storm, she and the prince, embodying the virtues of grace and forgiveness of her sister Aria. Together they reminded Zanzara that true leadership lies not in displays of power, but in the ability to inspire trust, kindness, and wisdom. The tale of Aria and the storm of Nemesis became a powerful lesson in the balance of power, the consequences of arrogance, and the enduring strength of humility. A reminder that power without humility can destroy even the brightest of gifts, and that sometimes the greatest strength lies in the gentleness of one's spirit. It became a story told throughout the savannas of Zanzara, a reminder of the profound impact of our choices and the importance of humility and responsibility.